Welcome to A Magical Life, Health, Wealth and Weight Loss. I'm your host, Magic Barclay, lead practitioner at Holistic Natural Health Australia and #1 bestselling author. In this podcast, I aim to give you practical tips on how to accelerate and sustain your health, increase your financial, spiritual and emotional wealth, and to look at something that haunts many of us needlessly, weight loss. In some episodes, I'll have guests available to give you even more tips, but in others, the floor is yours. Drop us a line at A Magical Life Podcast on Facebook and let me know what you would like to know more about. Now, sit back and enjoy, because it is time for you to create and truly discover a magical life. Welcome back to A Magical Life. This is episode 72, and I'm talking to Robert Riopel today. And Robert is going to talk to us about all things health and wealth and entrepreneurship. Robert Raymond Riopel is an international best-selling author, an app designer, entrepreneur and trainer who spent the past 18 plus years traveling around the world, BC, before COVID, sharing his passion. He's also shared the stage with and trained many of the top trainers throughout the world and thought leaders that we have today. Welcome, Robert.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. And especially because you're about health, that, it's a good thing that it's not smell-o-vision that we're on, because I just finished some beautiful, beautiful, fresh out of the garden zucchini fries with, they were Parmesan and garlic fries. So, oh my goodness. And I'm ready to keep being healthy.
Oh, you're making me salivate. I've got a cup of elderberry and nettle tea sitting here that tastes like grass clippings.
Well, I'll tell you, my wife loves having her big garden, and our zucchini plants have been producing like crazy this year. So I've been having fun Googling the different recipes, and I came across these zucchini fries that are Parmesan and garlic. And I'm like, let's try these out. And we tried them the other night, and they were just so delicious that I had to make them again today. I've been craving them since the other day.
Now I want some. That sounds fantastic. Now, Robert, we've been in touch for a little while via email, but I really love your passion when you start talking about what it is that you do. Obviously, we've just done a little intro, but can you tell the listeners, what do you do and why do you do it?
Well, if we go for the BC, and I'm glad you already said that stands for the before COVID, not only am I a serial entrepreneur, an international best-selling author with my book, Success Left a Clue, app designer, I had an app that I designed based on my book, but I am also more passionate about the fact that I've been blessed to travel around the world several times and personally train over 500,000 people in live trainings, anywhere from 3 days to 5 days, 100 people at a time to 6,000 people at a time, where I'm on stage 12 hours a day, up to 12 hours, just fully immersing people into understanding how they can have a greater life, what options they have, what holds them back, and how to have breakthroughs and to truly live that passionate life. So I'm living my passion and having a great time. Now, of course, since COVID, I've had to do a reinvent, and I've gone virtual, including I'm now a week and a half in, brand new office that my wife and I built our training center on our acreage because it was one of our dreams. And I've now got a 1,500 square foot training center that I'm going to turn into a super Zoom room so that I can have 350, 400 students on the screens at a time and have all the 4 or 5 camera angles, and just being able to reach out and interact with people in a different way, because I'm a high energy person on stage, and I don't want to be low energy just sitting in a chair and here's what we're going to do on our training today, ladies and gentlemen. I want to be able to just bounce around and move and have fun.
I totally hear you on that. I love being on stage and, 30,000 people in front of me, not a problem. But what I'm finding with the transition to Zoom is I'm not myself. So certainly, I've done all of the presenting courses, but to kind of redo it to pivot to the world that we're in now, that's such a huge thing.
Well, I'd agree, but I disagree, because over this last 18 months, it's like what I tell any trainer when I train them. The number one key is just practice, practice, practice. And I'd rather you have sloppy success as you get going than waiting to have perfect mediocrity. And so when I started transitioning, I had, terrible setups. I do some on my phone, but I just did it so I could get used to, how do I look at the camera? How do I connect? How can I make it interactive with my audience? I'm always having them high-fiving. I'm having them typing into the chat box. I'm having them put their hands on their hearts and do declarations. So when I started doing the transition, it was rough. It absolutely was. But now I'm just going again and again and again, making sure that I'm putting in the practice to get better at what I do. And as I set up my office, when I do a live training, like tomorrow morning, I have one at 5 a.m. for the Philippines. I'll be standing in front of my camera and have my 2 screens. So even though I don't have a great setup yet, I'm still doing it. I'm not waiting, if that makes sense. And it's just like same thing for health, right? Just get started and watch how you get into the flow of it. So I'd recommend that for you, because you obviously have a passion for it, and you have a great training voice and a great presence. Even though your camera's not on, I can feel your presence. So don't hold yourself back.
Thank you so much. Yes, listeners, I do need to tell you, normally my guests can see me, but my camera has decided to pack it in, and I can't pick something up till next week through click and collect. So of all these times, I can see the fabulous Robert in front of me, and all he can see is my logo. So the world we live in.
What a logo it is.
It's a good logo. I like it. Now let's get into these questions, because the listeners really want some answers from us. So the first question, Robert, is what can your expertise do to accelerate health? Now, when we're talking health, we're talking emotional, spiritual, physical, financial, mental, the whole gamut.
Well, first of all, you hit it right on the head, that I believe that we're definitely holistic beings. And it's not just one area. The area that you do not focus on is the area that takes you out. And this is coming from a person, Magic, that used to be so closed down. I come in from an area where it's, here's the box. Don't think outside the box. Don't question the box. This is what you believe, and that's all you need to know. And so a lot of the things that I have experienced over the last 2 decades was so foreign to me. And as I've experienced and I've opened myself up to believing, like the fact that, hey, I did a 4-day Zen retreat in 2002 that changed my life. And now my daily practice is to see how much I can be meditating by being present, not by having to necessarily sit, cross my legs and meditate, but by being present with what I'm doing in the moment, because meditating is being present. And as I opened up to it, I started to notice the trainings that I was doing around the world. A lot of people, their mind is one of the things that holds them back the most. And if you want to talk unhealthy, their negative self-talk is one of the most unhealthy things that people have going for them. So I've made it my mission to, how can we help you take and turn around that mindset and almost become your best friend, so that you learn what positive self-talk is, even if it feels kind of hokey in the beginning, how I can teach the science behind why it makes a difference. Why the vibrations, why the dendrites, the neurons, how they fire, and all that works. But I love to keep it fun so that people understand that, being healthy of mind doesn't mean I have to try and fit into a certain mold to be healthy. I want them to know that they can have fun on the journey, enjoy it, even though there is ups and downs, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. And something I tell my clients in regards to their physical health is, when you're just taking a medication, or you're just following a doctor's order or a naturopath's order or whoever it is, you're not taking ownership of what's actually happening. You're not looking at the mechanism of action of the medication, for example, and what that's actually going to do to the inside of your body. But the same goes for mental health. If you're having those negative thoughts, they're having a constant effect on you. They're actually affecting your immune system. They're affecting your endocrine system. They're affecting your neural pathways. You were talking about, dendrites and axons. The demyelination that can occur in your neural pathways just from thinking bad thoughts about yourself, it's just exponential. And I don't think people realize the depth of that.
Well, yeah. And look at what the research also says, that for every 1 minute of negative energy or negative news, as an example, that you take in, it takes you 5 times or 5 minutes of positive supportive energy just to neutralize. not even to then get ahead, but that's just to neutralize the 1 minute. And so no wonder when people are, and I'll use my dad as an example, he is locked to every news broadcast. When he's in his suite all day long, he's sitting there and he knows he has to have the 9 a.m. morning news, the 11 o'clock news, the 1 p.m., the 5 p.m., and then the 6 p.m. international. And then he's still got to catch the 11 p.m. as well. And it's the same news all day long, but he wants to make sure he hasn't missed anything. And I know when I have a phone conversation with him, the first 5 minutes is pretty much, hey, did you hear what happened today in the news? And my dad knows I don't listen to the news, but I've learned to, I love him for who he is. And so the first 5 minutes, I know we have to let him get it out of his system. And then we have a great conversation. And so having that much impact and taking 5 times to just neutralize it, that can be very tedious. So I love to help people with what are the habits you have so that you don't even have to worry about working so hard on neutralizing. You can actually get ahead of the game by supporting your mental health and your mindset and what you believe about yourself or not. There's little adjustments you can do that can go a long way.
I totally agree. You were talking about the news. I live in Victoria in Australia, one of the most locked down states, I guess, in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I never know what's going on. I actually have a walking buddy who I walk with at sunrise every morning. And I require her to tell me what's happening because I don't watch the news. I actually drove to Melbourne a couple of weeks ago thinking I could go to our local Kmart, which happens to be miles away from us. And I got there and it was all shut and I had no idea.
Yeah, exactly,
so,
right?
Walking around the city going, what's going on? And then, actually having to text her and say, Kmart's closed, the supermarkets are open, but nothing else. She goes, yeah, we're in lockdown. I forgot to tell you. Oops.
Well, and that's where I'll use LinkedIn because every morning I get an update of here's what's in, and I can in 30 seconds breeze through to see if there's anything I need to put more focus on or read. Otherwise, it's like, okay, I'm good for the day. I've got the news. And that's what I rely on just to, because yes, there are some times when things happen that you probably should know about.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Robert, we like to create wealth here on this podcast. And when we're talking wealth, we're looking at financial, of course, personal and emotional wealth. So what are your top 3 tips to creating wealth?
Well, again, first of all, I'm glad that you're talking about holistic wealth because people think wealth just means money, but it's not. And, going from a person, the reason I do what I do today is my wife and I ended up over $150,000 in personal debt, stressed out beyond belief. And because we were introduced to personal development from a 3-day training, we learned why we handle money the way we did, took ownership of the debt instead of blaming it on other people. So that's one. Take ownership of your finances. Don't sit there and say, well, that person lost my money. No, you're the one that decided to give them the money. So if you didn't do your due diligence, I have other people do a lot of my investing, but I know enough to know if they're doing a good job or not. So I do my due diligence. And if we lose money, which let's be clear, my investments, I don't always have winners. I do have losers. I take responsibility for it. So that would be one big tip. Take responsibility for your financial situation where you're at. And we learned specific actions to take if we wanted to get out of debt. And we were able to actually go from the information we received from over 150,000 in personal debt to actually retired completely financially free 9 months later at the age of 32. And that's actually what got me into doing what I do today because my mind went, wow, that worked. And if I could even help one person do the same thing, it'd be all worthwhile. So a second tip I would give out, Magic, is this. Surround yourself with not like-minded people. I used to believe like-minded people are good, but surround yourself with growth-minded people. And here's the difference. If you surround yourself with like-minded people, it could be a group of people that are complainers. And then you're just going to be a complainer with them. A growth-minded person is not only are they the person that is willing to pick you up when you stumble, they're going to be your greatest cheerleader as you're doing great, but they're also the ones that are willing to have the tough conversations with you. Have the tough conversations with you like, hey, you're playing small right now. Why aren't you stepping up? Or, you're kind of being a jerk there. Why are you doing that? And it's not about speaking their truth to be malicious or anything. They speak their truth with compassion to help you own how great you are. That's probably one of the greatest things that you can have in your corner is this group of growth-minded people. So that would be my second tip. And the third one, if you're looking at strictly like money wealth, quit going for the instant gratification. This is why we got into debt, is because as we became more successful, my wife and I had gone and been able to become Domino's Pizza franchisees at the age of 23. And as we started creating more success, we started spending more money than we were earning because we wanted all the instant gratification. Keeping up with the Joneses because, hey, we're successful. This is what successful people do. Meanwhile, we're ruining our financial life and putting ourselves into mental stress. And so we were willing to take a hard look and say in our life, what don't we need right now that we have expenses on? That if we were to simplify our life and downsize, it would allow us to create that financial freedom. And we were willing to make some tough decisions. So those would be three things I would recommend to your audience.
I think that instant gratification is a big thing, certainly with lockdown and, people really suffering worldwide, that they're looking to buy things. Like here in Australia, online shopping has just increased so much that they're now delivering on a weekend like they never used to. Sunday you get a package, like that used to just happen here the week before Christmas. But now it's a thing, it's a regular thing. And people are spending money on things they don't need.
Oh, yeah. In Canada, because the government's got the subsidies and all that and income replacement because you're at home, RV sales have gone through the roof. And it's like, if you were working, would you have bought that thing? Well, no, but I'm home, so we might as well do something. Yeah, but how are you going to make the payments when life goes back to normal? And people aren't thinking about that. And what you're going to see is this is going to be, if you're a savvy person, in next couple of 3 years, there's going to be a huge marketplace to be able to buy items for super cheap because people are going to start realizing what they're buying now they couldn't afford. And so, yeah, you've got to think long-term and not just that instant gratification. Sure, you want it now, but do you need it right now? This is the best time to be really fortifying yourself for the future, because especially if you got time at home, learn new things, get yourself in better health so that as we come out of lockdown, you've got better mindset, better body, better outlook on life. If you've got a business, what can you do now to make the adjustments to it, to have it even be stronger as you come out? There's a lot of things that can be done.
I totally agree. I've thrown myself into my veggie gardens and, I'm just reaping the rewards now and ready to sow the next season. But you were talking about the things that will be on sale pretty soon. I've seen people around my town buying new cars.
Oh, yeah,
but they're not allowed to go anywhere. They're in lockdown.
Right?
So I keep thinking, when the payments catch up to them, I'm going to get a really good car, really cheap with low miles.
Yeah, right? Because it's like, oh, it went in your driveway, out of your driveway, in your driveway, out of your driveway. Yeah, I'll pick that up for half the price.
Totally. So bring it on. I'll have a new car soon.
And the real estate market did the same thing here, because all of a sudden now people, well, I'm at home, locked in with my kids. Oh my goodness, we have too small of a place. Our real estate prices went through the roof. It's like, what's going to happen in a couple of years again when people are going, oh, I really couldn't afford that house. You're going to see another real estate crash, and people who are ready are going to be able to make a lot of good money off of it.
Totally. I actually thought here in Australia, the real estate market would bomb because, people were losing their jobs. But as you said, government subsidies and things were happening here as well. And the amount of houses in my small town that are getting snapped up for much more than they're worth at the moment, it's incredible. They're on sale for 3 days and they're gone. But those people are in 12 to 24 months going to be going, how on earth do I pay for this thing?
Yep, that's exactly it. And my wife and I were lucky. When we bought our acreage here 3 years ago, we have our other house that we owned before, and we just did a slow move over the couple of years. We never rented it out. It's just been there, and the real estate prices were down. Well, all of a sudden COVID hits, the real estate prices start going up. We just went and listed it ourselves, and within 21 days it was sold, and we got quite a bit more than we would have got even 6 months earlier. And then people are going, well, but the prices are still going up. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't need to be greedy. I'm happy that expense is gone because I'm looking at the long term again. I don't want 2 mortgages all the time. So now, it prepares us to do other things. Goes along with what keeps people from being healthy in all their different ways is their habits. And habits, developing them is one thing, but then, and it's easy. I'm going to say it like this, and people may disagree, but I'm going to kind of speak my truth on it. Developing a habit is easy. Making change is easy. It's the maintaining it that is the tough part. And that's where people have the hardest time, is they get excited for a couple moments. And then once it starts becoming monotonous, it becomes, oh, this is work. Then they end up going backwards. And if you want to have that full wealth in all areas of your life, is being willing to develop and maintain habits. And it doesn't have to be hard. It maybe takes a little work in the beginning, but then as you get going, the maintenance can be just easy, minute things, but it is about keeping it maintained. That's the key, in my opinion.
Agreed. And it's really important that the listeners know that when you are making changes, habitual changes, it can feel uncomfortable. And that's okay. That feeling uncomfortable is you getting out of your comfort zone into your learning zone. And really, that's when you're going to achieve the success. If you don't have that discomfort and that kind of icky feeling of, oh, this is a big step, why should I do this? Then why bother? If you can't adapt, which is part of your human capability, in fact, any animal can adapt. If you can't do it, but really embrace that slight discomfort, then it's not going to mean anything and you won't stick to it.
And that's it. And one of the things, like in my new book that I'm writing right now, I talk about something called the 4 phases of life. And it's really, especially during this time with COVID, it's very, to me, very pertinent for both business owners, for people who are wondering how things are going to go. And if you'd like, I can go through it, Magic, of what the 4 phases are and how to really embrace them.
Please do.
Excellent. And it's all centered around chaos. Chaos enters people's lives, and COVID, you talk about chaos, it's chaos that hit the world. And a lot of people, when they struggle, is because they resist chaos. And if you understand, and it goes to something you said just a few moments ago, that, here as humans, we were put on this planet to evolve, not to stay in a comfort zone, but to evolve. And chaos is actually the part that forces us, either gently, if we're embracing it, or harsh if we're not, to actually evolve to the next level. Because life will throw us lessons, and if we listen to them, great. But if we don't, we get the lesson again more intense. And so I use the acronym of OPEN because I like to keep things simple. I'll tell you, Magic, I'll do my best Forrest Gump impersonation. I'm not a smart man, but I like it simple, so that keeps it easy for me to work with. The O stands for the observation phase. And what that is this is the time to create. Just like your logo, where that beautiful growth is coming out of your hand, new life, new trees, new leaves, new branches. That's the observation phase. This is the time to dream, to visualize, to meditate, and ask yourself, what would I like in all areas of my life? What would I like my mental life to be, my emotional, my spiritual, my physical, my financial? Now, not how will I make it happen? What do I need to do? It's just, this is the time to be that human creating the life of your dreams. And then the second phase is the one that most people that struggle, it's the one that they either ignore or they don't believe they can do it. And the P stands for the pamper phase. This is where, if you've ever heard the saying, you cannot give what you do not have. Most people are givers, and they get overwhelmed because they forget to rejuvenate. They forget to care for themselves. And this was a big one for me. When I started training, my first 4.5 years, I did over 200 multi-day trainings around the world, whereas so busy, I was only at home on average 2 days a month, overliving my passion. And I got burnt out. And because I wasn't taking care of my body, I herniated a disc and ended up going through 2 back surgeries. I had to take 3.5 years off to heal me. And the reason I'm sharing that is I don't want your audience to think that I have a perfect life. I'm no different than anybody else. I have my good times, I have my bad times. And my biggest lesson from that time was, it's important that I pamper myself, because if I don't, then I can't give truly like I want to. And when the pamper phase comes in, this is where you book a holiday or go on a holiday. Well, Robert, we can't, we're in a pandemic. Great. Get a massage, have a manicure, have a pedicure, read a book. If you enjoy reading, take time to yourself to just read. Sit down and just take time for you, your family, the loved ones. Those are the things you do in the pamper phase. And one of the keys of how to do that, I'm going to use a wealth rule. Magic, have you ever heard in Australia, have you ever heard of wealth rule number 1, pay yourself first? Have you heard of that rule?
Yes, I have.
And that's an important rule, especially for financial success. So my question is if you're going to pay yourself first in money, why wouldn't you pay yourself first in time? So for me, my wife and I, what we do is we live by our calendar on our phones. And when we go to add things to our calendar, the first thing we put on the calendar before anything else is what we call our balanced pieces. Time for each other, time for ourselves, time for family, our health. All those things go on the calendar first instead of at the end hoping we still have time. So if people take that one tip alone, it'll change their life. And so when you're in the pamper phase, make sure you're taking care of yourself. And when I say get creative, one of the reasons, and it's a little secret of why I love traveling overseas and doing long flights. A, I love helping people. That's the main reason I travel to other countries. But B, when I get on the plane and I sit in my seat, that's my time. That's Robert's time. I don't do work. I don't connect to Wi-Fi. I read books because I love to read. I'll watch movies because I love to watch movies. I'll get a little rest. I'll eat some good food and I'll drink some great wine. Because I know the moment I land, the next 3 to 5 days, I'm on stage up to 12 hours a day, giving people everything I have. And if I don't take care of me, I can't take care of them. Does that make sense, Magic?
It totally does. I actually use Google Calendar on my phone, and it's linked to my Timely account for the business as well. And
Yeah.
everything is color coded. So, like a royal blue is my work times, yellow is personal, green is kids and family. And
Yeah.
if I have too much blue in there, I will actually make sure I put some more yellow and green in. But the yellow and green is the first thing to go in. And I
It
have
is. Pay
non-negotiable
yourself
times
first.
where it's family time.
Yeah. Yes. And people think they can't have that. And this is where phase number 3 comes in. The E stands for energy phase. And in the energy phase, this is the phase where you get stuff done. This is where you do the emails, the meetings, the whatever it is that you have to do for your business to make an income. And so because I take care of the pamper side, when I'm in an energy phase, I can put in an 18-hour day. And at the end of the day, I'm tired. But am I burnt out and wasted? No, because I've been taking care of the pamper phase. And one of the things that people go is, well, Robert, you don't understand my life. I've got family, I've got business. My family's demanding that I spend more time with them because they say I work too hard. And this is why I'm stressed out. I don't have time for that. And what I've learned, Magic, is that people are really, really, really good at being busy, but they're not necessarily being productive. And there's a world of differences right there. So the second thing I put on my calendar after my balance pieces is I put in what's called focused time. Because research has shown that a person can only truly, truly stay focused for about an hour at a time before they start to wander. So what I'll do is if I'm writing my new book, I'll say 10 to 11, writing book. And in that hour, I come into my office. Everybody knows on my calendar, don't even try getting a hold of me because I will not answer the phone. I will not answer emails, won't even be looking at them. And in that hour of being productive, what happens is I end up being more productive than 6 hours of being busy, which frees up a whole ton of time when you can get in the habit of being productive. And kind of a side note of that, for everybody who's a business owner or an entrepreneur or someone who's working long, long hours and you're worried about your family time, I will tell you this. Family will take less quality time with you versus more quantity time with you every day. Because what normally happens, Magic, is, someone, and I'm sure you've experienced this. You're having a conversation with someone and they may be there physically in front of you, but you can tell their mind is somewhere else. Have you ever experienced that?
All the time. All the
Right?
time. People talk to me on the phone in the evening And then at the end of the conversation, I go, what was that about? It's because it's the time my brain's actually switched off. So I've actually
Right.
changed it. So I don't speak to people in the hours that I know my brain is winding down for sleep. So
Yeah.
I just
And
won't answer the phone.
see, and that's a subtle little change that pretty much everybody could do, and it won't dramatically impact their life in a bad way that the mind will try and tell them it is. And when I'm traveling around the world, I can get off the stage after a long, long day. And one of my commitments between my wife and I is we still connect before I go to sleep, no matter the time zone difference. And no matter how tired I am, it might be a 5-minute conversation. And we love using FaceTime, love technology so that we can see each other. And even if we only have a 5-minute conversation, because we're truly there, present with each other, we know that there's that connection. It's not like, yeah, honey, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm glad you had a good day tonight. Which is what people think, well, I connected with you. No, you didn't. And one of the little kind of subtle tricks my wife and I have is if we're talking face to face, live or over the phone, if we sense the other person drifting, all we simply have to say is we don't get upset. We just say, come back to me. And that's a signal to the other person that they were drifting. It's like, oh, hi. Okay, I see you. And that
That's
quality
such a
time makes a big
simple
difference.
tip there, Robert. That's
Mm-hmm.
fantastic.
Yeah,
You could say that
it
in person to people. Come back to
right. And take a look at the movie Avatar. I see you. That's such a powerful statement of I'm present, I'm here right now. I truly am here instead of 1,000 miles away in my mind.
love it. Love it.
So that's the third phase. And then the fourth phase, I have to admit something here to you, Magic. I had to get creative because I couldn't find a word that started with an N for the acronym OPEN. So I had to use the second letter as the N in a word. I hope that's okay. So the fourth phase is called the unclutter phase, the unclutter. And this is another way of saying this is the chaos phase. Remember I said earlier, chaos is natural. It's there to help us evolve. When you go into a chaos phase, this is the time to destroy something, to get rid of something, to let go of something that has not been serving you. So maybe there's a business or a personal relationship that hasn't been working. In the unclutter phase, that's the time to let it go. And what happens though is people don't realize you can actually volunteer for chaos. If you don't want the chaos to be harsh and hitting you big time, you can actually volunteer for it. This is why I call it the unclutter phase, is you can volunteer by going to your refrigerator and clear it out. You could go to your refrigerator, clear it out, and now it's uncluttered. Or go to your closet and clean it out and either get rid of or donate or sell the stuff in there that you're not using anymore. See, by uncluttering your life, chaos doesn't have to come in as harsh. And one of the greatest things that I've found that people can unclutter is those negative beliefs that aren't supporting them. And the easiest way to do that is proof is a cure of all doubt. So take it upon yourself when you're in that phase to prove that belief wrong, to show why that's, well, I'm not good enough. Great. Why aren't you good enough? Well, I don't know. Okay. And I talk to myself all the time, Magic, just so you know. And it's no problem talking to yourself. I think the only issue is if I go to Facebook and I put a poll together to get 2 points of view and see what my friends say about how my mind's talking to me, that's when I go a little too far, I think. And that is my warped sense of humor as well, just so you know, in case people aren't sure, that was a joke, I think. But in the unclutter phase, you can, if you're sitting there and you're doubting yourself, you could actually go to your friends and say, hey, I really want to attempt this, but I don't think I can. What do you think? I think I'm good enough, but I want to come to you, and let them tell you why you could do it. Let them be that cheering squad for you. When I mentor people, as an example, because I love training trainers, in the beginning, I only work with people who I know have an amazing message to get to the world. And so I'll tell them in the beginning, you're going to go through self-doubt. So let me be your greatest cheerleader, because I see something in you that you're not seeing in yourself right now. And when it comes to the uncluttered phase, that's where having these growth-minded people is important. And I love what my friend said. He said this: instead of being willing to live life, be willing to courageously allow life to live you, and watch where your life can go.
That's amazing. That is such a great aspect or viewpoint of living life. I love that. And the unclutter phase, yes, we'll let you start that one with N. That's fine.
Well, I was talking to a person a couple of weeks ago, and he said, Robert, I love acronyms too. He said, because you're destroying something, why don't you call it nuke phase? So I might consider changing it to that.
That's pretty cool as well. I actually had a situation last week where I felt really, really stuck, like just no momentum whatsoever. And I was just in the kitchen doing the dishes and I couldn't find something. You know how we've all got that cupboard under the sink that you can never find what you need? So I ended up sitting on the floor, pulling everything out and actually only put half of it back. And it was stuff I truly did not need, like bits of junk that had overflowed from the junk drawer, which is next on the agenda. But once I'd actually fixed this cupboard, I just felt so clear. And I actually came back into my office and did another couple of hours worth of work because I'd cleaned out the kitchen cupboard. It was just the uncluttering. Once you start the process physically, it can really flow on mentally. And I love that.
Because we are holistic. Exactly. One thing impacts the other. And that's exactly it. And the key is you got to be willing to let go of something good, because a lot of people get attached. Yeah, but I might use it someday. Let go of something good to get something great. Be willing to let go of something great to get something absolutely phenomenal in your life.
Very true. And in the times that we're living in at the moment, something good that you need to let go of but isn't serving you may be the savior for someone else. So really look around your community and go, do you know what? I have these kids' toys or these clothes or this bicycle or whatever. Someone else really needs that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the key right there.
Robert, we always talk weight loss here, and it really should be renamed weight release for better languaging for our minds. So, have you ever battled your weight? And if so, what was the trigger for you to actually achieve that?
Oh my goodness, up and down and up and down. But the one that really comes to mind is when I did go through my 2 back surgeries. Because I wasn't taking care of myself on stage, I was putting most of my weight on my right leg. And so I was twisting my hips. And with all the flying I was doing, I herniated that disc. For 2 years, I thought it was a sciatic problem. So I started being less mobile. So I started putting on weight, which then made it worse, which aggravated. When I stepped back, it came to that one time where my wife said, enough, because I would bend to pick something up and it would drop me to my knees. And for a week, I couldn't move. I'd crawl to the nearest bed or couch. And it would take a week before my back would relax enough for me to stand up and walk again. And we were visiting family the one time it happened while I was on my hiatus. And a year after a week, I still couldn't get out of bed. And my wife went, we need to know what's going on. And we ended up finding out I had herniated a disc. And over the time of, here in Canada, we have our free healthcare, which is awesome, but it means you wait forever and a day to get something done. And when we found out I had a herniated disc, they're like, well, it could take up to 9 months to get the surgery. And it's like, wow, because now I'm 3 weeks in bed. I can't get out of bed, 4 weeks in bed, and I'm getting more mindset miserable. I'm getting, I'm just getting miserable all over the place, and I'm putting on weight. And, as I went through it, I ended up gaining about an extra 50 pounds. So 23 kilos. And when I made the decision that I was going to come out of retirement and I was going to train again, I knew I would not put my body through the same thing. So my first focus was I want to release those 23 kilos. More importantly, I want to strengthen my core, because after 2 back surgeries, I made the commitment I would never go through that again. So I will do whatever it takes to take care of my health and my back. And so I was able to do that. I also made some adjustments on how much I was training to add more balance in my life. So I only went from doing 40 to 50 trains a year to 20 trains a year maximum, no matter where in the world I'm used, so that I can still take 6 months a year off and be at home and with family. And I like my comfort food. So I also had to set the mindset that it's okay and not beat myself up over liking the comfort food, but am I committed to be able to do it, the workout and the fitness to be able to keep myself lean enough to enjoy the comfort food and make some, little adjustments like eating the fresh vegetables, zucchini, creative ways to have it in a healthy way. So that's kind of what my journey's been over the last number of years.
Fantastic. I could talk to you forever. This has been a great conversation. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. And look, I love staying connected. If you feel that you want me to come back and talk more to your audience, just ask. That's all you need to do. And I'd be more than happy. I love the energy and the vibe of what you teach people and how you express it across to them.
Thank you. I definitely will have you come back for the podcast to talk to everyone. Now, let's talk about how people can find you. So you're on Facebook at the Robert Riopel. You're also
Correct.
on LinkedIn at
Yep.
Robert Riopel, and on Instagram at Riopel.
Correct.
And
those are great ways. Yep.
Fantastic. We love freebies here for our clients. What little gift can you give people?
Well, and because you were so gracious to have me on your podcast, Magic, and I honor your time, and even more than that, the time of your audience to take their valuable time to be with us and listen. What I am doing is I would love for them to be able to get my book, Success Left a Clue, my first international bestseller that I released a few years ago, as our gift to them. And it's the full digital download. It's not just a couple chapters. And all they have to do is go to robertriopel.com to get that. But I will say it does come with a caveat. And the caveat is this: I didn't write this book for people to read, put on the shelf, and make it shelf help. That's not why I wrote it. In this book, I cover 6 steps on how people can truly have life-changing habits and live the life of their dreams. And I wrote it as a workbook because step number 3 in my book is take action. And out of all the traveling done around the world, the biggest difference I've noticed between success and non-success is successful people take action. So I've got these action steps all the way through the book. And I even have where you'll start reading a new chapter and it'll say, hey, did you do the last action step? If not, stop reading right now, go back and do it, and then continue reading. Because I do know people are creatures of habit. Because I guarantee if people read the book and do the action steps, they will find that their life, their mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and financial lives will get healthier.
I love that. Now I know what I'm doing this weekend. So thank you.
And you're going to do the action steps, right?
Oh, of course I am.
Excellent.
Now, folks, this has been a fantastic chat with Robert. And again, I thank you for your time, Robert. Thank you for sharing all of your amazing wisdoms with the listeners. I do encourage you to go and download that book. Check out Robert's social links there and really start investing your time and your effort into yourself. So we talk about investing as money. Investing is energy. Investing is time. And investing is care. And if you don't care for yourself, nothing else is going to happen. So again, thank you so much. This was your episode 72 of A Magical Life. Always live with passion. In episode 73, we have a listener question. How do I thrive in lockdown? And in episode 74, I will be talking to you about the PNEI of trauma and how to release generational trauma, social trauma, the whole gamut of what really could be holding you back with your health. For now, thank you so much, Robert. And listeners, go forth and create your magical life. Thanks for listening today. Please subscribe to hear future episodes, leave a review, and share this podcast. You can follow us on Facebook at A Magical Life Podcast or at Holistic Natural Health Australia. That's holistic with a W. You can find us on Instagram at Holistic Natural Health or at www.holisticnaturalhealth.com.au. That's where you'll access all sorts of articles, freebies, and more.